Okay, so today what we're going to do is we're going to take a fraction and try to turn it into a decimal. So we probably know the easy way of doing that is if the fraction is already out of 10 or already out of 100. So for example, if it was 3 out of 10, Michael, what would that be as a decimal?
0.3.
0.3. And if it was 62 out of 100, Paul, what would that be as a decimal?
0.62.
0.62. So those ones are fairly simple because they both end in or have a 10 or 100 as the denominator. But the trouble starts to happen when we have fractions that are not out of 10. So for example, 2 out of 5, if I want that to become a decimal of some sort, I can't do it because it's not out of 5 or out of 10. So Trifina, what should I try to do?
Multiply the denominator by 2.
Yeah, and be a little louder. Yeah, you're right. If I multiply my denominator by 2, 5 times 2 is 10. So then what must I do to my numerator, Cody?
Times it by 2.
I have to multiply that by 2 as well. So 2 times 2 is 4. So now I have 4 out of 10. So can I convert that into a decimal point, Michael?
Yep.
So what is 4 over 10 as a decimal point?
0.4.
0.4. Okay? Now sometimes we get numbers that you can't turn into something out of 10. For example, if I've got 3 out of 4, I can't do anything to that 4 to turn it into a 10. Because 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 2 is 8, 4 times 3 is 12. So I can't multiply 4 by anything to turn it into a 10. So is there something else that I can do to turn it into a decimal? Now don't forget, decimals are something that's either out of 10 or out of 100. So Paul, is there something I could do to this 4?
You could times it by 25 and that would give you 100.
Sure. So if I multiplied 4 times 25, that gives me now something out of 100. So what must I do to my 3, Trifina? Multiply it by 25. 3 times 25 is 75. So really, 3/4 is 75 out of 100. And now, can I take 75 out of 100 and turn it into a decimal, Cody? What would that be?
0.75.
0.75. And that's really it. What you're trying to do is get your fractions into tenths or hundredths, and if they're not naturally tenths or hundredths, then you must change them into either a tenth or a hundredth. The other thing you're going to also have to do is you're going to have to do some comparing. For example, 2/5 compared to 30 hundredths. How many people say the 2/5 is the bigger one? How many people say the 30 hundredths is the bigger one? How many people really don't know? So, to know, what would you want to do? What would you want them both to become? Amy? Tens or hundreds, right? Well, this one already is 100, so why don't we turn this into 100? So what am I going to do to my 5 to turn it into 100, Katie? Times it by 20. So what am I going to do to my 2? Darby? Multiply it by 20. So 2 times 20 is 40. So really, 2/5. Now, which one? Is it easier now to tell which one's bigger? Right. So obviously, 2/5 is greater than 30 hundredths because 2/5 changes into 40 out of 100. Okay? So that's the other kind of question you're going to do today. You're going to be changing numbers into fractions into decimals, and you're going to have to be able to compare fractions, and you're also going to have to do this. Say I had 0.9, and I want to compare that to, let's see, come on, to 2/5. Which one's bigger? How many people say the 900ths? How many say the 2/5? How do you know? Most of you are saying 2/5. Why? Okay? because we're going to turn it into 100 by multiplying by 20. So this becomes 40 out of 100, which becomes 0.4, or as Brendan said, can also become 0.40. So 40 compared to 9 hundredths, obviously, that one's bigger. Okay? So that's the other kind of question you're going to have. You're going to have some decimals, compare them to fractions. And it's always easier if they are both the same. If they are hundredths, make them hundredths. If they're tens, make them tenths. Okay? Any questions? All right. Okay, so you can take out your math duotangs. Now, grade 4, you're going to have the exact same question as the grade 5s, except for grade 4s do not have to do the stretch your thinking part. Okay? Grade 5s, you do have to do stretch. Grade 4, however, if you want to do it, that is Superstar worthy. So it's optional for grade 4, it's not optional for grade 5. Oh, I don't think it's. Oh, maybe it's still recording. Oh, it is too.